Okay, we have some breaking news just into our newsroom, a tornado warning. Let's go to our meteorologist Brittney Shipp, who is standing by.
Yes, this is something that we've been talking about for a while, knowing that today was going to be active right around 4 o'clock. We knew those storms would start to pop up, lasting until 10:30 or 11 o'clock this evening. Brittney, what can you tell us?
All right, we are definitely tracking a tornado warning here. I just ran back into the weather center. You can see this area. It is highlighted here. This is East Marlboro, closer to Westchester, East Whiteland, all under this tornado warning until 6:45. We have been tracking this potential here. We've had a tornado watch in effect for the past couple of hours, and now we have just seen this tornado warning issued for parts of the region. So now we want to switch you over here to velocity mode just to make sure we can identify some of the rotation here. But this polygon is tracking to the east, and especially to the northeast. So once we put a tracker on that, this is moving incredibly fast. This is moving at 50 miles per hour. And again, it's tracking to the northeast. So what we want to start to do here is we are going to put this velocity tracker on so we can show you exactly where everything is tracking. And as we take a closer look, if you're just to the south of Coatesville here, this is near East Fallow Field. You want to take shelter at this time. We've been going over the differences between a watch and a warning. So now if you're near Doe Run, if you live in this area, you're probably familiar with all these places that I'm calling out. This is near Strasburg Road, near Buck Run Road, and Doe Run. This is near 82. So what we start to try to do here when we're dealing with a tornado warning is we look at your velocity. That's indicating rotating winds. We look for a couplet, which means we're looking for the green and the red to interact. And that's basically what we're seeing here. So as we start to put it in motion, I'm going to back this radar up about 15 minutes, and it's going to show us exactly where it's tracking. And that's going to be, do you see the couplet there? Again, if you're closer to East Fallow Field near Doe Run, you want to take shelter immediately. Go to the lowest level of your home. If you do not have a basement, what you want to do is you want to get to a bathroom that doesn't have any windows. This is tracking here to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. So now we'll put a tracker on this and show you exactly where it's heading. So what we're doing back here is I have to manually enter in exactly how fast this particular cell is moving. We put a tracker on where this couplet is, and it's tracking to the northeast. So that means if you're closer to Romansville, closer to 617, you have about 15 minutes here. You have about 5 minutes. You want to try and get to that lowest level of your basement. What I like to do during these tornado warnings is start calling off all of the cities that are now under the polygon. This polygon is issued because this is where this particular supercell is going to be tracking. We know it's tracking to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. We also turn on this velocity mode, and it tends to show us here exactly where that couplet is, which means we're dealing with some rotating wind. So as we look, this is just to the south of the Coatesville area. So just to put everything in perspective here, we've had this tornado watch in effect for the past couple of hours, and we were talking about the differences between a tornado watch and warning. Once we start talking about a tornado warning, that means it's time to move. So this is just to the south again of Coatesville. This is right outside of Highland. Our polygon is shifted to the northeast. That is the track of this particular thunderstorm cell. So it is again moving to the northeast here. So what we typically like to do is we like to call out some of the names here and some of the neighborhoods that are under this tornado warning. This is going to stay in effect until 6:45. So that's about 30 more minutes. We look for the couplet, the red and the green coming together. That means we're looking at rotating wind speed. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing rain going towards and away from the radar. So that's how we use this tool to determine if we're dealing with rotation and potentially a tornado. This is just to the south of Coatesville here. So if you're in this type of polygon, if you're in any of these neighborhoods, Westchester, East Whiteland, just to the south here of Phoenixville, you want to be taking shelter. If you know anyone that takes 30 or 76 north of East Whiteland to get home, you want to call, give them a heads up, and just let them know there is a tornado warning until 6:45. And when we have a tornado warning, it means now is the time to move to get to your safe space. We have Jackie and we also have Fred right now. They're going to go over some more details on exactly what you need to do when we have this tornado warning. So one of those things that you need to do is get to the lowest level of your house. You want to get away from all of the windows. You also, if you don't have a basement, you want to try to get into your bathroom. So what we know is this is going to be tracking here to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So if we put this in motion here, we want to show you, I'm going to back up and go to my weather computer here since the touchscreen doesn't look to be working for us, but we want to track exactly where it's heading. And we know it's going to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So we're going to widen out the picture just so you can see everything that's happening here. We went from having severe thunderstorm warning to this tornado warning here. And again, it's tracking to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. All the areas that are under this tornado warning, these are all the neighborhoods, and they include Romansville, Downingtown, Alter, Lindale, Lyonville, East Whiteland, East Goshen, Westchester, West Vincent, and Phoenixville. Some of the safety tips that we would like to go over include getting to the lowest level.
We can do that if they can put that up on the screen.
In your basement.
Right, we can go over some of those safety measures, what people need to know. We heard Brittney say that there are some things you need to know if you are in this area to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. This storm is moving with this tornado warning.
And you can see the X's in the rooms where you want to stay away from. Those are areas that are generally next to windows. You definitely want to stay away from those areas. You want to go to those green spaces you see there that are enclosed. You're talking about bathrooms, closets, center hallways, away from windows.
That is so important. We know that with these strong winds moving at 50 miles per hour, those windows can blow out, really injuring you. That's why it's imperative that you go to the lowest level of your house, to the bathroom that doesn't have any windows, or of course to a basement if you have one. Those central rooms are key. And if you happen to live in a high-rise building, your best advice is to go to a bathroom.
Yep, and there you see what Brittney was talking about just a couple of moments ago, the difference between a tornado watch versus a warning. We had been under a tornado watch for several hours, and now we are in a warning. And one of the analogies that I like to use is when we're in a tornado watch, it's kind of like you have the ingredients to make a cake. You have the ingredients, all of the ingredients are there to make a tornado. But now we're in the warning, so that means that these things have come together. We have the cake, we have the tornado. We're giving you the warning, which is why it's very important for you to take a safe haven.
That's right. And we do want to go over, once again, exactly what we're doing. So first we're going to show you the radar. So we'll show you what that looks like exactly. All of the thunderstorm activity, all of the lightning strikes that are just to the south of Coatesville. This is by Strasburg Road. West Marlboro, just to the north of East Marlboro, Newland, all under these tornado warnings. So what is most important for you to do is if you live within this red polygon here, you want to be taking shelter. You want to head to your safe space. We start to look for a couplet, which we're basically finding here closer to Romansville. Even if I back this radar up about 15 minutes or so, even 10 minutes, we can see the progression here of this. Do you see how this goes right over Doe Run, south of Coatesville, and it's continued tracking to the northeast, and it's moving quickly. So I will put this in motion here so we can see it again. But this is what we tend to watch here when we have a tornado warning. We are looking at the couplet. We are looking for that red and green to match up. And that is what we have been seeing. So this is going to be closer to Marshallton Thorndale Road. This is just to the south of Downingtown. This is all tracking here to the northeast. The reason why the National Weather Service puts this entire polygon, even though they know that this is the cell that they're looking, is to give you time. We know this is tracking here to the northeast. We potentially could have a second tornado warning. So 1 second, I'm going to go and take a look at this, but we do have this first one that's going to stay in effect until 6:45. Let me wind out the picture, make sure there's not a second one issued. So yes, this is just the same one. Let's see if it's been extended or not. This is until 6:45. This is for Chester County. This has been the concern for us this entire time when we did see that severe or that tornado watch issued for the entire region. This is one of the reasons why the Phillies game is canceled. There's been issues at the airport as well. So we always say you have to respect the polygon here. And what we're seeing is this tornado warning on this cell that is just outside of Coatesville. We know this is moving closer to Downingtown. If you live in Downingtown, you need to be taking shelter. Bondsville, Dorland, Lionville, Bradford Hills, Exton, West Pikeland, you're under this tornado warning. Charlestown, Hallman, Sidley, East Whiteland, Byers, West Vincennes, Sheeter, East Pikeland, again, all under this tornado warning. And really, if you're northeast of even Phoenixville, you should already have a safe space in mind. We could see Spring City, Phoenixville, Limerick, all added. Chesterbrook, the tail end of this, is under this tornado warning as well. So what we like to say is you have to respect this polygon. If your neighborhood is in this red box right here, you want to be seeking shelter. We're looking for a couplet, which we're basically finding. It's anytime the red and the green are matching up, that means we have some rotation identified by the radar here, and that looks to be right over the Thorndale area. The other thing that we like to watch back here is we have a chat with the National Weather Service where we can actually see what's happening with any of the additional information. They issue it here on our National Weather Service chat. But what we like to show you is two different things. Not only the radar, which shows the rain, and it's also going to be showing us exactly where this is tracking, which we know it's moving quickly to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. So as we look at exactly where it's heading, it's moving quickly. It's jumping from the Downingtown area. It's moving just over Downingtown, closer to Bradford Hills right now, even near Bondsville, and then heading towards the Lionville area. We want to also explain to you the different street levels. East Township line, we can see right down to the street level. If you live near Dowland Forge Road, Norwood Road, Lionville, Worthington Road, West Pikeland, Charlestown, all of these areas, you definitely need to be heading into your safe space. We can switch back over and show you some of the radar as well. But again, the biggest concern is going to be exactly where this is heading, and that's to the northeast. So this is also some of our shear. We like to look at some of the hail as well, but I do want to switch you back over and look at some of the radar here where this tornado warning has continued. So the National Weather Service has the possibility to cancel this, but they are extending it. It is continuing until at least 6:45. So that was issued right at 6:17. We know that we have at least almost 30 minutes here of this tornado warning, and it does look like on some of our models like velocity that this is lining up to be potentially some rotation here. And even without the rotation, we've seen some wind gusts associated with these thunderstorm cells up to about 70 miles per hour. That's strong enough to bring down trees and power lines, but it is incredibly dangerous for us to even be identifying some of these pretty severe rotation here on our velocity. So that's one thing that we're watching for you. Another tool we like to use is a correlation coefficient. We also refer to this as a debris tracker, and we start to look for a blue colored or purple colored ball of debris that basically indicates that we are seeing debris flying. As I'm pulling up this correlation coefficient, it's going to have a lot of colors. I'm not identifying any debris flying at this time. So that's one thing that we also look to check for you. So we're going to switch you back over here to velocity, where it looks like potentially over this Downingtown area, now crossing over to Norwood Road, that we could be dealing with some rotation here. So I'm going to circle that again for you, just so you can see wherever we have that kind of couplet meeting up, which is the red and the green, that is rotating winds. That is wind and rain coming towards and away from the radar. So that is what we are basically dealing with for tonight. I'm going to continue to widen out the picture so we can make sure that this is the only tornado warning for the area, although most of the region is, one, under a tornado watch, and number two, under severe thunderstorm warnings. So all of the I-95 corridor is under this yellow box. Anything down towards the northern and central parts of Delaware, all under severe thunderstorm warnings. And with that, it means any of these thunderstorm cells can produce lightning upwards of 70 miles per hour, or lightning and then wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour, capable of bringing down trees and power lines. So again, you have this tornado warning that is in effect here until 6:45. And then also, if we can get IT up here, I would like to reset my touch screen. So that's one thing that we're going to be trying to effort for you as well. But at this time, we do have this tornado warning. It is in effect until 6:45.
And Brittany, this is moving right toward Philadelphia, right? And this is moving fairly quickly with 50 miles per hour.
This is closer. This is getting closer to the Philadelphia area now. It looks like it's going to cross over into closer to King of Prussia. So where you see the polygon, one thing to point out with this, I'll put this in play here. One thing to show you, so we get really used to reading these. You have this tornado warning that the National Weather Service issues. You can see the direction of the polygon. You see how it's kind of tilting to the northeast? That lets us know that the cell is tracking to the northeast, and that's what we're seeing. It's tracking at 50 miles per hour. So you have Philadelphia over here. You have to also look at where this polygon is pointing, and that gives you an indication of where that thunderstorm cell is tracking. So you can see the next city over is going to be areas like Limerick here, and also King of Prussia. So those are going to be the next areas that we're watching. This is just to the north of the Westchester area and just to the south of Coatesville. So if you live anywhere in this polygon, that means you're under the warning, the tornado warning, until 6:45, so about 20 more minutes. That means it's possible for this tornado to affect your house and your neighborhood. Typically, if you're closer to the bottom end of this polygon, the tornado or the thunderstorm cell is passing through. Now, if you're this way, if you're closer to the edge here, to the northeast of where all the lightning and thunderstorms are, this is tracking in your direction. So it means that you still have a little bit of time to make a move to get to your safe space. So that's going to be the big thing here, is anyone that is to the northeast of where all these thunderstorms are on this radar, now is your time to move. Now, if you're not quite in this polygon, you don't have to move yet, but it's for everyone that is in this particular polygon. You want to definitely be seeking shelter. So that's one thing that you guys have been also going over, which is exactly what everyone needs to do.
And we can reiterate that if they can put that up on the screen again to remind people what they should do in this instance and where they should go for safety. Right now, if you're in these areas of Downingtown, East Whiteland, Westchester, Coatesville, but it's headed right toward King of Prussia as well and moving quickly at 50 miles per hour. But of course, we always say to stay in the interior part of your home, away from any windows. If you're in a high-rise building, go to the lower levels, a central room or a basement, a bathroom if you are in a tall building, and cover your head as well because of that debris and the windows if they shatter. You want to make sure that you are protected if you're not able to get into an interior space.
And I know one thing we talked about is also getting, two different angles too. So while we're showing you the tornado watch and warning, we need a little box as well to show everyone the radar that's coming off of our Weather Computer 3. So we want to make sure you always have an eye on the radar that is happening here. So there you have it in the corner of your screen, and then you also have what's happening with us here. This is what I'm tracking for you. So this would be the velocity. You can zoom in a little bit too, so we can see just the box. That's all we need to see is just our big monitor. And what we're seeing right now is this looks pretty promising. This looks very dangerous here. This whole area, this is Lionville, down towards Downingtown, Bradford Hills. If you live in this area, again, you are dealing with some severe weather, some very strong wind gusts. Let's turn on some of our local storm reports and see if anything has been reported in this particular area. It looks like it might be canceled. Let's see. We're going to widen out the picture.
Nightly news with normally NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt would start at 6:30, but we do want to let you know that because of this tornado warning, we are staying on the air to keep you safe and to keep you protected. And Nightly News will be on at 7 o'clock because this warning extends until at the very least 6:45.
Yeah, so it looks like, Jackie, this is just coming in within the last 30 seconds. The National Weather Service has canceled the tornado warning for Chester County. So it looks like we resume back to our severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for most of the region here, and lots of thunderstorm activity, strong wind gusts. So everyone still needs to be weather aware.
Yeah, now would be a good time too, if you haven't already, to download the app or to make sure your cell phone is charged so that you can get any alerts as we send them throughout the evening, because this is a pretty active system, as you said, way up and down the 95 corridor in all of those areas that are not necessarily in that polygon that you showed us. there are areas, like you said, Limerick, that could be impacted by the weather that we're seeing. And now would be a good time to take inventory of that safe place that you need to go to. If you need to go there, people have also used blankets and other things like mattresses and sleeping bags to cover themselves up, potentially to protect from debris, that kind of thing. But those are things to keep in mind as we watch this weather system move through this evening.
And sometimes you see these tornadoes in rural areas, but when we look at this radar, these are highly populated areas of Coatesville, Wilmington, approaching King of Prussia, and of course Philadelphia, going through Lancaster right now. And because this tornado warning for Chester has ended and it is not extended until 6:45, we are going to have nightly news at 6:30. But we of course are going to keep you updated because, as we know, these storms are expected to continue for many hours to come now. You can see all the lightning, the red and green, the couplet Brittney talked about, really driving up those strong winds.
Our First Alert meteorologist Brittney Shipp will be here in-house tracking everything for you. And of course, we'll stay on top of this. Nightly news is next. We'll see you back here in about 30 minutes at 7 o'clock.
Right now, we have another tornado warning, this for the King of Prussia area. We want to check in with First Alert meteorologist Brittney Shipp, who's keeping a close eye on this. Britt.
That's right. This new tornado warning, we're going to query this and see how long this is going to be in effect for. This is especially concerning because it looks like part of the King of Prussia area is underneath this warning. So this is going to be in effect until 7 p.m. We're going to start to zoom you in here. We're already identifying quite a bow echo that typically determines a little bit of rotation there. And that's exactly what we're seeing. You can see it's just to the south of the Broomall area. This is by Castle Rock here. If we want to switch over to Weather Source 1, that is where we are tracking this tornado. So there you can see it. Our radar shot right now showing us this red box. I'm going to start with this area here near Castle Rock because this is where we're starting to see some of this bow echo here on that radar return. This is near Goshen Road. We have near Easttown under this tornado warning. We have over the Radnor area. They are under a tornado warning. The Broomall region, Gladwin here, Norristown. We also have near Allen Lane. We want to show you some of the roads here and just kind of call off some of the roads. We've been talking all afternoon about what you need to do when you start to see these tornado warnings issued for your neighborhood. It is now time to act. That means go to your safe space. That includes your basement, the lowest level of your house, any room that does not have any windows. So all the areas, if I start calling off your neighborhood, I would like for you to start moving right now. That means you need to turn up the TV in your house and try to listen to us. But if your TV is in the living room, I don't particularly want you to be watching us if there's any windows around. You need to start seeking shelter right now at this time. So I'm going to call off some of these neighborhoods here so we can get to the bottom of exactly where this is tracking. The National Weather Service has this cell as well, moving to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. We also have some nasty rain that's just to the south of this region here, moving over the media area. And so as we wind out this picture here, we want to show you all the areas that need to start making moves. And that includes Broomall, Norristown, Radnor, White Marsh, Abington, 3 Tons, up towards Lansdale. Anyone that's traveling, or if you know anyone traveling on 476, closer to Radnor, closer to Broomall. I'm going to pause this here. I'm going to switch this over into velocity and see if we can identify. This looks like another one of the couplets we've been trying to watch and identify. Anytime we start to see the red and the green butting up against each other, so this would be closer to Radnor, St. David Road. These are the areas that are most concerning for us. Let's see how far this is to King of Prussia. King of Prussia is also included here in this tornado warning. So anywhere near 276, the 76, Henderson Park, Gulf Mills, Sweetland, Norristown. If I'm calling off your name, you need to hit your safe spot right now. You need to go to wherever your safe space is. That should include a basement. If you do not have a basement in your home, then you need to head towards anywhere that doesn't have any windows. So that should be maybe your bathroom. That's going to be your biggest concern here as we continue to look at this. So areas like Church Road, Echo Valley, Easttown, you're seeing incredibly strong wind speeds right now, potentially very close to a tornado. Conshohocken, you are up next. Gladwin, Haverford, you are all very close to this potential tornado. What I'm doing here as well in the Weather Center is I'm looking at some of the information from the National Weather Service chat, and it just has the fact that they've issued this tornado warning with thunderstorm cells capable of producing a tornado here. This tornado warning is going to be in effect for, looks like Montgomery, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and parts of the Philadelphia County, all under this tornado warning until 7 p.m.
Brittney, are you able to see debris flying at all? I know when we had that earlier tornado warning for Chester County, you said that you couldn't see debris flying. I wonder if you can see it with this new tornado warning.
Yeah, so what we have is a particular tool that we use. It's called the correlation coefficient. It's basically a debris tracker, and we look for a little bit more organization. It doesn't look that great right now. We have seen it where it's really organized and it basically almost looks like a debris ball traveling on the radar. It doesn't look like it's showing up. Velocity looks fairly promising with this one in terms of there being some rotating winds here. We want to switch you back over just simply to the radar and just show you exactly where this cell is. And again, everything is tracking here to the northeast. This is moving quickly. That's the other thing, is that this is moving right around 50 miles per hour is what the National Weather Service chat is saying. So everything is going to be tracking here to the northeast. It's going to be heading towards Norristown, Glenside, just to the south here of Warminster. So anyone that's under this warning, this tornado warning, until 7 p.m., you need to take shelter. So this is affecting Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia counties. The National Weather Service has placed you under this tornado warning. We do want to put this in play here. We want to show you how fast this is moving. It gives us a better idea, and it also shows you really only have minutes to avoid this tornado when we start to see these moving this quickly. So this is tracking here to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. That means you have a few minutes before we start to see this moving closer to the Norristown area or even towards Glenside. If we put a tracker on where some of this really heavy rain is, you can see how fast it's going to be going. So this is West Conshohocken at 6:47, so that's about 4 minutes. If you're closer to Conshohocken, that's 6:49, so that's about 6 minutes. Plymouth, 6:53, White Marsh, 7 o'clock, Maple Glen at 7:09, Horsham, 7:12, and Hatboro at 7:13. So this entire region here, this is going to cross right over 476. If you know anyone that takes 476 home, that was also the concern earlier in the day. We said, this is going to happen over your evening commute, so you should either leave work early or just sit where you are and try to wait till this line of severe thunderstorms kind of passes through. So hopefully you were able to do that. It looks like, I think they just extended this into another part of the region here. So let's zoom in a little bit more and show you what to expect here. Let's see what we're looking at, and that's just to the south of Norristown here. I'm going to back off and see what the chat is saying with the National Weather Service. It looks like they adjusted the polygon a little bit here to include maybe a bigger area. Right now, it just is saying that the National Weather Service has issued at 6:43 this severe or this tornado warning here. So I just want to show this one little part here that looks like it was added. This is closer to Radnor, Gulf Mills. King of Prussia is still under this particular region. Still under this tornado warning. Colonial Village, Henderson Park, Sweetland, Gulf Mills, Conshohocken, Plymouth Meeting. There's a lot of shopping centers near Plymouth Meeting. Same thing when it comes to King of Prussia. Even if you're not seeing rotating winds specifically over the King of Prussia area, you have the country's largest mall right there, King of Prussia. So you have a lot of people parked there. We have our Valley Forge tourism camera that we want to actually go to now just to see if we can identify anything. We are seeing a lot of raindrops on that particular camera. I'm taking a look at it right now. Hopefully we can bring that up. I know it takes just a few seconds, so just bear with us. We have impressive video on this camera. Again, this is the King of Prussia Valley tourism camera overlooking the King of Prussia area. This is where we potentially could be dealing with a tornado, or at least wind gusts upwards of 60, 70 miles per hour. You'll start to see some of the rain going sideways here. We have another pretty impressive shot that we could show you. This is Comcast Northwest here of some of the clouds moving through parts of the area. We have our cameras that are shaking over Wells Fargo, where the Phillies game had to be canceled today. So let's bring it up one more time. We'll send it over to Jackie and Fred, what people need to do. We also want to make sure we have that second box, which includes the radar shot from our Weather Computer 3, so people can still see where this is moving, where this tornado is. I'm going to zoom in. So it's this area here highlighted, and there you go. Perfect. So Norristown up through Horsham, all under this tornado warning at this time. And that is the animation, if you guys want to go over what people need to do to stay safe.
Right. We see that this is approaching very populated areas, and you can see that you were asked to get into the interior part of your home, areas that don't have any windows. If you happen to live in an area where you cannot be in an area that doesn't have any windows, make sure to keep your head covered, because this storm is moving so quickly. We were just talking about Chester, and then all of a sudden it moved quickly to Montgomery, Chester, Delaware, and Philadelphia counties. Also, we see those highways there, 476, 276, 76. At this time of night at 6:47, people are often going home from work. So these highways, as we saw from that earlier shot, and we can see right there in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, just how many cars are there on the roads, how much traffic is there with that heavy rain coming down and the strong winds. It can be so dangerous to be out there on the roads in a situation like this.
And that's why it's so important to pay attention to this box that she has with this polygon plot. You can anticipate, and that's why they plot it that way, so you can anticipate how the storm is moving, exactly how you need to prepare and take cover for this. Very important for people, as you mentioned, to get inside their interior rooms away from those windows. If you're watching this and you're in this polygon plot on a TV, you probably shouldn't be. Perhaps you should be streaming it on a cell phone in your safe place in an interior room away from a window. We say that so often and we sound like a broken record, but this is such a safe practice for you. And you know, I've even known people to put kids in bicycle helmets because that's what we're trying to do here. Or you use different items in your home, like a workbench or something, you know, as added protection for debris that could possibly be flying here. But there's that animation again there in the top right-hand corner of your screen, showing you kind of a layout of a residence there, where you see how important it is to get away from those window areas, because those areas are the most unsafe in a home when you see a storm move through, and to get into your interior room.
And Brittany, you talk about the couplet, and when you say a couplet and what comes of that, when the red and the green collide, that's representative of wind and rain?
That's representative of rotating wind speed. So that's what we look for when we switch into velocity mode. We also like to take a big picture just to paint the entire picture for you. When we start to see everything kind of bowing here, we start to know that there is lots of very strong damaging wind speeds, basically racing to the east and northeast. So that's why part of the area is under this tornado warning. We have a larger part in the yellow here under a severe thunderstorm warning, and the entire area is still under a tornado watch. So we've been watching all afternoon for the potential. This is our second tornado warning that we are now dealing with. So we get even closer. I like to get in street level and show you what we're expecting to see. So number one, this polygon is basically tracking to the northeast, which means the cell is tracking to the northeast. So places like Norristown, you need to take cover right now. But if you're a little bit further away, White Marsh here, you have a little bit more time to move. But generally speaking here, areas like Radnor, Norristown, anywhere near this 476, Plymouth Meeting, Conshohocken, you are all under this tornado warning. This is going to be in effect until 7 p.m. And it's possible that the National Weather Service could extend this even further. So it could be extended for another 15 or even 20 minutes as they continue to watch these cells here tracking to the northeast. These are moving quickly. Typically, we see some of these thunderstorm cells moving at 35 miles per hour. Right now, we're seeing this particular cell moving at 50 miles per hour to the northeast. So again, once you start to hear your name being called, that means it's time for you to use your safety plan. And we've been going over exactly what that safety plan is. And this is what Jackie was referring to. We start to try to identify at least a more well-organized couplet here, but sometimes we don't see it as clearly. But again, Norristown, Radnor, Shawmont, just to the south of Warrington, Abington, you are all under this tornado warning. This even includes 476, 276. These are major highways. This is right over the evening commute. So the concern is definitely there. We were saying earlier, if you could push up your commute time to kind of miss these storms and already be at home, that's the best thing to do, or at least wait them out. And now you have this very severe line of thunderstorms moving through these particular neighborhoods. So we want to get even closer for you and just show you where you should be taking cover. So if you're in some of these areas, I'm going to actually pause this here so you can see Gladwin. You're seeing an incredible amount of just thunderstorm activity. Same thing over Conshohocken, Norristown, Whit Plain, White Marsh here. This is 276, Cold Point, Barron Hill. If I'm calling off your name, if I'm calling off your neighborhood, you're not quite seeing that much rain right now for White Marsh, but you want to make sure that you are, again, seeking shelter. Same thing for Ambler. 63, if you live near Springhouse, if you're near Lower State, if you're near Gwinnett, if you're near Montgomeryville, if you're near Hebnerville, if you're near 76, 202, 463, 202, if you're closer to Hattville, you're all under this tornado warning here. And what that means is it's time for you to get to your safe space and seek shelter. So this particular tornado warning, let's query it just to make sure there haven't been any changes that I haven't been able to see here. In effect until 7 p.m. The counties included here, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia. One thing we want to show you is what some of our cameras look like. So let's whip through a few cameras. We can even start with the AquaCam. It's hard to even see anything right now. So I know Philadelphia, the city, isn't under this tornado warning, but we are seeing blinding rain. So you don't even want to be out in this trying to drive or commute. This is an incredible amount of rain. Take a look at this cluster of lightning as well over the region. We want to also show you parts of our King of Prussia camera that's very close to where this is happening. So that's where we're seeing just a lot of rain coming down. I'm trying to identify if we're seeing any type of rotation on some of the clouds, but you can see on our King of Prussia camera, our Valley Tourism camera, how quickly even the clouds are moving. So this whole sail is moving to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and pull up your Comcast Southeast camera. It is hard to even see, to make anything out. And you can see how heavy those raindrops are coming down. And then we can even show you the Wells Fargo camera where there's supposed to be a Phillies game right now. Of course that was canceled because the tornado watch has been in effect for the entire area. And we'll switch you back now.
And we're hearing reports that Conshohocken is bad right now, Brittany, as you would imagine when we look at this radar and see where this system was going. And we also have a photographer driving right now. We're looking at that image. That video, you can see how heavily the rain is coming down, but we know that to be as safe as you can in these tornadoes, try to seek shelter under an overpass if you can, and try to avoid driving right now if there is a place that's safe for you to stop and pull over until this subsides.
That's right. One of the common misconceptions that is taking refuge under bridges and overpasses is something you should do, but really you shouldn't do if you find yourself in that kind of situation. Our photographer here moving away from this and out of this, which is why we're able to provide you safely this image. But under normal circumstances, you wouldn't want to drive in conditions where you would have a storm like a tornado.
And Brittany, the polygon is, in terms of where Philadelphia is located, we're not seeing it here on this radar right now.
Yes, exactly. So this is one thing that is, we look at these for so many years that it's a little easier for us to kind of explain what's happening. Here's Philadelphia right here. This is where the tornado warning is. Typically, the polygon indicates the direction in which some of these severe thunderstorms are tracking. And right now, the polygon is facing to the northeast. So that means you can tell that everything is going to be tracking to the northeast. So it's not pointed towards the Philadelphia region, although Philadelphia is going to see quite the lightning show right now, as well as heavy downpours. So when we start to see those darker colors, that means we're going to be dealing with a lot of rain in a short amount of time. Flash flooding has been an issue. I did turn on some of our storm reports. This is basically a thunderstorm cell that's moving over the region, but If you are anywhere in the red box, that includes Norristown, that includes Abington, you are the ones that we are most concerned about because we could be dealing with a tornado in the area. It's getting a little convoluted here on my radar, so I'm going to take off some of the storm reports and even our storm tracks, which tends to show us some early detection. So that's what we're seeing with this particular identification. This is not a confirmed tornado. This is one of the tools that we use to determine if there's been potentially some early detection of rotation. So there is what the tool is suggesting is that we have been seeing some of our wind speeds rotating here. So that's why that particular icon does pop up. That doesn't pop up all the time, only when potentially some rotation is indicated here by our radar. So that's what we've been seeing, and that's probably what the National Weather Service has been looking at in order to determine that there needs to be a tornado warning. This is 6:56. This tornado warning is supposed to stay in effect until 7 p.m. I just want to query this and make sure that that has not changed. And so as we can see right now, Monday, 7 p.m., Delaware, Montgomery, parts of Philadelphia County. So as we look at it right now, looks like we have at least another 4 minutes of this particular cell that is tracking here to the northeast at a very fast rate, which includes wind speeds moving right around 50 miles per hour to the northeast. So that's what we're tracking on this particular thunderstorm cell. The best thing we can do at this time when we're seeing something like this is call off all of the neighborhoods that are included in this particular tornado warning, just to make sure everyone is, of course, staying safe. And those neighborhoods include places like Spring House, Norristown, White Marsh, Abington. If I'm calling off your neighborhood, you should be heading towards your safe space. So Radnor is still included, but it looks like whatever we're dealing with is already to the northeast of Radnor. And that's the other thing with this polygon. We can always kind of tell when most of the rain and potentially the rotating winds and potentially the tornado has passed the coverage area. So this was about 15 minutes ago. This was issued for the Radnor region. And now everything is tracking here to the northeast at 50 miles per hour. So the areas that have the best chance of seeing this include places like Spring House, White Marsh, Norristown, and anywhere to the northeast of these areas. So anyone traveling near 276 south of Warminster, if you know someone that takes that way home and they said that they were heading home, you want to give them a heads up that they're running into just some incredibly strong wind gusts and also downpours. Spring House is included in that 202. And this could get extended by the National Weather Service further northeast here. We could see areas like Buckingham included and Warminster included. And we've seen confirmed tornadoes in those areas previously in previous summer seasons. Warrington could get included, Doylestown, Buckingham, 263, but right now we don't have those included at this time, but we're still holding steady with the National Weather Service and this particular tornado warning. We were trying to give everyone a heads up earlier. We've had a tornado watch in effect for the entire region since before we came on the air, and that was at 4 o'clock. So right around 3:30, we know that that was issued for the entire area because the potential was there for us to see some of these very strong tornadoes in the region. So we've had 2 different tornado warnings. I'll have to look on the National Weather Service chat to see if we have had any confirmations with the first one or any trained weather spotters. But right now we still do have this tornado warning in effect until 7 p.m. here. That is affecting Norristown, Abington. We can also take a look at the hail tracks as well and see if there's any hail that's been moving through. It's kind of hard to see. It's under the severe thunderstorm layer there. But I'm just looking for some really good. So it looks like the National Weather Service is no longer concerned specifically with the rotation. We widen out the picture here. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning. So this is still gusting wind speeds up to 70 miles per hour. And it is still racing through the city of Philadelphia, through this I-95 corridor, into parts of the Trenton area here, into the northern parts of Burlington County. So again, the tornado warning has been canceled. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning. We still have the tornado watch for the area, and we will be waiting by the radar to see if there's any more tornado warnings that will be issued. So now we will send it back to Fred and Jacqueline.
Okay, and we can just remind people again, if they are in this area, there are certain things they should watch out for. If you are at home and this is in your path, you're always advised to go to the basement or an inside room that doesn't have any windows, or go to the lowest floor. And if you happen to be outside, I mean, look at that picture right now from Citizens Bank Park, just how much rain is coming down and how dark it is. If you happen to be outside or in a mobile home, you were told to find a nearby building, preferably with a basement. If you are in a car, do not try to outrun a tornado. Instead, try to find the nearest sturdy building. Some advice as we see this heavy rain, even though that tornado warning has expired, we still know the conditions are ripe and it is dangerous and is expected to be dangerous for hours to come.
NBC10 News starts now.
And we begin with this breaking news. The tornado threat not over yet. The warnings expired minutes ago, but we are not in the clear. The storms are impacting sporting events tonight. The Phillies game for this evening is postponed, and so is the Philadelphia Union game in Chester. Not surprising when we take a look at just how bad these conditions are outside.
Yeah, it's really bad. Let's get right over to our meteorologist in-house, Brittney Shipp, who has been tracking this, been keeping us safe throughout the evening. Brittney, what's the latest?
So we've already seen 2 different tornado warnings here. The last one just expired within minutes. We still have a tornado watch in effect for the entire area until 11 p.m. We do want to show you this bowed line of thunderstorms that's capable of producing wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour. So even if we're not technically dealing with a tornado, we could still see some damaging wind speeds that could bring down trees and power lines. This is racing through the King of Prussia region. It's right over the Philadelphia area. It's closer to the Abington region right now. If we just pause this, we'll show you exactly. This is over 676 here. This is also stretching all the way down towards the Vineland area here, coming out of Delaware. We want to just zoom in a little bit more. We know that these are extremely heavy downpours. This is affecting Camden. This is affecting the Philadelphia area right over 95. Kensington seeing heavy rain as well. Same thing over Marion. Anytime you see the red and then the dark red here, you do have a lot of thunderstorm activity. You have very strong wind gusts. You have the lightning, so it's still a pretty dangerous situation, although technically there's no tornado warning in effect. We do have the severe thunderstorm warning, and that's going to extend all the way up towards areas like Limerick, Norristown, Warrington. We already have the severe thunderstorm warning in place for Bensalem, Trenton, and Warrington, which we don't even have rain in these particular areas just yet. Willingboro's underneath this, Evesham, Waterford, Brown Mills. And then if we query this, it'll tell you how long this is going to be in effect for until 7:30. So we are anticipating is what that means. These strong wind gusts moving through, these downpours that can be blinding. You don't want to be out and about in this at all. If you had anywhere to go, any errands to run, you really want to wait till this line of thunderstorms are off the coast and we're not dealing with this at all anymore. So you do not want to be driving in this. You do not want to be commuting in this. You want to be at home, basically planning where your safe space is and how you're going to get there once a tornado warning is issued. We've already had 2 different tornado warnings for this evening, and potentially any of these thunderstorms could produce another tornado warning, especially as this line of thunderstorms continues to track to the east here. So until this is off the coast, the potential is there for us to have yet another tornado warning issued on some of these thunderstorm cells that have been producing rotation. The concern is also going to be for some flash flooding. If we get a lot of rain in a short amount of time and has nowhere to go, flash flooding is also incredibly dangerous. So we want to encourage everyone to stay weather aware until we get rid of all these thunderstorms until they move off the coast. We'll talk more about what's in store for the rest of tonight coming up in just a bit.
And speaking of that flooding, Brittany, we have pictures right now of some of that flooding. What we're looking at is north of 95 approaching Old City. And we know over the past few weeks, flash flooding has been such a concern and unfortunately deadly in Bucks County. We know that flooding is an issue in this area of 95. You see the Ben Franklin there behind us and all of that lightning as well as people effort to try to make it home as safely as possible. But always heed those cautions and take it slowly on the roads. Make sure you're prepared and have the NBC10 app so you will get text alerts when severe weather is approaching your neighborhood.
And welcome back to live images of PHL, where you can see the planes there have stopped flying. We've been under a couple of tornado warnings over the past couple of hours, and several more watches that we've been watching here from the First Alert Center. Several delays, actually hundreds of delays across the country, not just here in the Philadelphia area because of this weather.
And while we have the tornado warnings, now we have a severe thunderstorm warning for Bucks, Burlington, Camden, Montgomery. That's for another 15 minutes until 7:30. And then we have a severe thunderstorm warning until 7:45 for Bucks, Lehigh, Montgomery. So much of our area affected. And then we have another one for 8 o'clock. For all those details on the areas that are impacted, we want to send it over to First Alert Meteorologist Brittney Shipp for the latest.
Yeah, we have to throw in that the Phillies game was canceled because we've seen this tornado watch in effect since about 3:30. We knew it would go all the way until 11 p.m. So it's hard to host anything when we have either a tornado watch or even tornado warnings. And we want to go over again the difference between the two. We're already in the watch, which means we know tornadoes are possible. You want to know your safety plan. You want to stay weather aware. And once we get to the warnings, which we've had 2 different ones already, that means tornadoes are likely. You want to take immediate action and go directly to your area. One incredible radar here. Take a look at these thunderstorms that are going from Allentown just to the east of Philadelphia down towards Vineland out towards Dover. I mean, this is an incredible amount of thunderstorm activity. And we've already seen 2 different tornado warnings. Now where you see the yellow boxes here, those are severe thunderstorm warnings, and these cells are tracking to the east, some as fast as 50 miles per hour. So where some of the heaviest rain is right now looks to be just to the north of Phoenixville. We also have our storm trackers on. This tends to indicate if potentially there's a little rotation or a little spin there, and that would be closer to Bethlehem and 78. We have another potential early detection of maybe some rotation. This would be outside of Willingboro. But right now there are no tornado warnings in effect, just the severe thunderstorms, which means we could see wind gusts upwards of about 70 miles per hour. We're starting to get some of our storm reports in as well. This one coming out of Mickleton. It says emergency management reports trees down in Mickleton, New Jersey. This was around 6:46. So even if you don't exactly have a tornado, we're still seeing some damaging straight line winds capable of bringing down power lines, trees, causing power outages. We already have reports of power outages as well. So it's all of the impacts, not just that isolated chance for a tornado. Severe thunderstorm warning until 7:45 for Berks, Lehigh, Montgomery, Northampton. We have a secondary one until 7:30 here, and that's for Berks, Burlington, Camden, and Montgomery. And then we have a third one until 8 o'clock. That's further south. That's Atlantic counties, Camden, Cumberland, and Kent County until 8 p.m. So we will continue to see this strong line of thunderstorms tracking here to the east until it gets mainly over parts of South Jersey, central southern parts of Delaware, down towards Cape May, and also over Atlantic City. And it looks like we could be dealing with some of these stronger thunderstorms at least until 10 o'clock in the evening until they rush off the coast, and then we'll actually see 2 nice days of dry conditions. So these are the things that we're tracking for you. Just expect at least another 2 to 3 hours of these potentially very strong thunderstorms with damaging wind speeds. The other thing we want to show you is where these storms have moved through. We saw our highs today in the mid 80s, but take a look at Philadelphia now. Because those thunderstorms were so strong, we're down to 71 degrees. Our temperatures in Westchester have fallen to 70. We're at 72 in Reading, 78 in Millville. You can always tell when those thunderstorms have rolled through because we start to see the temperatures dropping quickly. Your feels like conditions for the most part are still in the mid 80s, and a few spots like Dover still at 92. As we look ahead here to our hour by hour breakdown, shows we still have the chances for those thunderstorms. And you can see on that camera there, the lightning is really strong and bright. Overnight tonight, you're down to 71 in Philadelphia, 67 for the Lehigh Valley. And our daytime highs tomorrow will range between the high 70s and low 80s. Our 10-day forecast shows a few more chances for storms. Right now, it doesn't look like we'll have any severe storms left in this 10-day forecast. Temperatures aren't going to fluctuate much, but we will continue tracking all of the impacts, all of the risks. You want to stay weather aware until we get through the rest of tonight.
Yeah, it's not over yet. We still have hours to go before all of this clears out of our area.
Exactly.
Brittany, thank you. We know you're watching.
We'll be right back. And welcome back as we continue to
watch these severe storms.
That's right. Those severe storms are rolling in tonight. We've already seen 2 different tornado warnings. We want to switch you over to our radar shot and show you where some of these strong thunderstorms are tracking to the east here. So moving into parts of Trenton, just outside of Vineland, we have 5 or 6 different severe thunderstorm warnings that are still in effect. We still have a tornado warning for the entire area until 11 p.m. We put a tracker on this, or a tornado watch. We put a tracker on this to show you where some of these thunderstorms are going. They're heading towards Atlantic City. Jacqueline, Fred.
And we'll continue to keep a watch on it and cut in if there are any more tornado warnings. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jacqueline London.
And I'm Fred Shropshire. Unless we need to cut in, we'll see you back here at 11. Shire, unless we need to cut in, we'll see you back here at 11.